Keith wrote in and said, "The capitalist property owners have historically structured a state to protect their land and oppress their workers. How would an anarcho-capitalist society avoid the arising of this state?"
Would you like to elaborate? I think I get the general idea. Did you want to go any deeper into it?
Yeah. So basically, I was at a Students for Liberty conference. I'm like a full-blown anarcho-capitalist myself, and we had some anarcho-communists come and like bash the party, and they were talking about how capitalism is what the U.S. currently has is complete capitalism, because you first have entrepreneurs and then the state arises because they need the state to protect their large amounts of property, which they otherwise would not be able to protect themselves. So, like big Walmart corporations could not protect themselves unless there was a government. Therefore, capitalism precedes the state, not the state happens and then you have capitalism and then cronyism.
So their argument is that anarcho-capitalism was the norm at some point in the past, and then a state grew out of concentrated economic interests to protect their property, right?
Well, yeah, basically.
And do they have any evidence for this unfettered, untrammeled free trade? Because one of the things that's a challenge with making the case that there was somehow a free market in the past was, until the last couple of hundred years, the worldwide acceptance and prevalence of slavery would be one thing that would be kind of a challenge to the argument that we had some wonderful free market in the past that then got co-opted by corporate interests. Did they provide any evidence, or was this just a bunch of words chasing a bunch of prejudices?
Oh, well, no, it of course is a bunch of prejudice, but I mean that is the like bottom line Peter Joseph argument for like to oppose capitalism. It's that you have capitalists who own property, and like the government, if you don't pay taxes, you die or go to jail. Or if you don't work for a boss, you die or basically just suffer unless you work for them as a slave.
Right. So this is, I mean, I know you're just sort of repeating their arguments, but this is a lot of highly emotional trigger words for people masquerading as some sort of historical analysis, right?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, if you want to be a good anarcho-communist, then the first thing you have to do is you have to commingle economic power and political power. You have to sort of pretend that they're both the same thing. You know, like if you can conflate raping with dating, then you've muddied the waters to the point where I guess your ideas seem relatively clear. And so the first thing you have to do is say, well, corporations are like the government, or corporations and the government blend into each other, or, you know, that they're in an unholy alliance and will be forever because corporations give money to the government and the government in turn gives protection to corporations and so on. And so concentrated economic power must invariably lead to monopolistic political power in this argument, if I understand the argument correctly.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So, I mean, the first question I would ask is there any difference between economic power and political power? And they do their damnedest to say that there isn't, right? So the government can put you in jail if you don't obey it, and corporations can put you in jail or can put you in economic jail, can sort of effectively have you homeless and starving and begging for jail if you don't obey their edicts, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of challenges, I guess is the nice way of putting it, to this formulation. So I guess the first question I would have is there any permeability between worker and owner? And again, owners are workers in general and usually work harder than owners, but, you know, can you rise up? Is there social or class mobility, I guess, would be the question. Can the poor become rich? Can the rich become poor? In a free market, is there uppies and downies, right? And statistically, there is, right? I mean, they used to call this shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, right? Like, so if you work a physical job like Nicolas Cage in Moonstruck, you don't wear you just shirt sleeves. You're in a wife beater, right? And then you tough it up for a while, but then everybody goes nuts and blows all their money and so on, right?